We're going to resume our budget workshop or I should say we're going to resume our workshop and now talk about the 2026 budget review. Who gets to start the ball rolling, Ms. Baker?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. Today I am presenting my last budget of my professional career to the Board of County Commissioners. This budget is a preliminary balanced budget which reflect the board's strategic priorities and directions not to reduce the capital budget or reserves. However, the reserves had to be adjusted as a result of the estimated POTUS protection cost of $45 million. We do anticipate being reimbursed from the federal government. Fingers crossed. Further, we had a reduction in state revenue sharing and half-cent sales tax by $21 million. And in order to balance the budget, our reserves, I had to reduce them. I am submitting this preliminary budget for your consideration nearly a month earlier without the actual June 1st preliminary values from the property appraiser. The assumptions the budget is based on is staff's best estimates after consultation with the property appraiser, partners at the federal and state levels, and various input from other financial resources. Staff is scheduled to return to the Board of County Commissioners on June 10th with the preliminary values from the property appraiser, which we do anticipate additional revenue being generated over and above what we have. We do, and we're estimating with this budget roughly about 6.5% over what we generated last year. It, again, may come in earlier. I want to thank the staff of the departments for adhering to a very compressed schedule, and a special thanks to the budget staff who lived endlessly on this. We ensured the budgetary processes were followed in the development, analysis, and recommendation of the budget requests, including supplementals. Also, I'd like to thank our constitutional officers for working with us. That it does include the sheriff, the SOE, judicial, state attorney, PD, and the clerk's office. So I'm going to start with our presentation. This overview is for fiscal year 2026 preliminary proposed budget. Our property values and millage rate will go, and projections will go over. Our fiscal year 2026 general fund budget, that will be what we will focus on because that is where the bulk of ad valorem dollars are accounted for. It'll deal with population and sales tax, revenues, expenses, and position information. We'll also talk about grants, our capital plan, our debt, ARPA response replacement fund, which is primarily the interest that has been earned on those dollars waiting to be fully expended on projects the board has approved and we're moving forward with. And then also for the future, direction from you on what do you want us to modify, make changes, et cetera. Again, we start with our strategic priorities, which we brought to you back in January. You did not change anything. They're primarily public safety, infrastructure, unsheltered residents, housing development, environmental protection, economic development, substance use, and behavioral disorders. This is a schedule of our important dates, which a number of them we've already hit, and that's the strategic planning workshop, which we did January 7th and 14th. We came back to you again on January 28th and February 4th, dealing with the budget, getting directions, and the capital workshop. Moving forward, May 1st, we've got some constitutional officers, for those that have not already submitted, they submitted on May 1st. We have a few that will submit after that. Our preliminary budget workshop is today, and then we'll come back with we'll receive initial value estimates and property appraiser budget, which will be due June 1st. Our initial budget workshop with those preliminary values will occur June 10th. Staff will be bringing back that delta between what we estimated in this proposed budget, recommended budget, versus what the preliminary estimates from the property appraiser will be. And then in July, we will come back, we'll receive the final value, property value estimates received from the property appraiser. We will then present to you the final documents, and you will set the final millage rate. It can go lower, but it can't go higher. So you'll set the maximum millage rate. We'll receive the tax collector budget August 1st. You'll have your first public hearing September 9th. Our second public hearing is scheduled for adoption on September 16th. The proposed budget reflects the following assumptions. Our millage rate, we're recommending remain the same. Our proposed rate will generate $1.52 billion in property value, which is a 6% increase, netting us we estimate 93 million. I'm sorry, 6.5, will net us 93 million. Our BCC departments across the board, I am recommending a 6% increase for our staff. Cost of living and trying to retain the good people we have and setting salaries at a level that we can still recruit others coming in. Our supplemental funding was $16.8 million total. $2.7 million was offset due to revenue. This includes 175 total positions. 16 of them are general fund positions, which is ad valorem. The remaining ones primarily is fire rescue. The sheriff came in, his total expense budget was $1,066.3 after $106 million in revenue was netted, which gave a budget increase of 104. The sheriff did work with us. This particular budget that I'm recommending to you, his budget initially came in at $163 million. We worked with him. He reduced it by $37 million. And then there's another $20 million, which is not included in here because I had to balance the budget. I have had discussions with the sheriff, so he is well aware of this issue. In addition to that, he did inform me prior to submitting his $163 million million he eliminated $25 million before ever submitting to us. Capital funding for 2026, we're recommending ad valorem funding remain relatively flat, $124 million, so it was not reduced. In addition to Palm-Tran replacement vehicles of $3.6 million, there are other projects funded with non-ad valorem dollars, but we're going to focus on general fund and ad valorem dollars. And this next page just reflects the buckets in which your priorities and what I'm recommending you fall in. Our biggest share deals with public safety, and I've got that laid out. The next is infrastructure, and then unsheltered residents and on down. Fiscal year 26 proposed taxes, we anticipate a total for property taxes of $2.1 billion. Of that amount, 71.2% is associated with the general fund. The remaining deals with fire rescue at 23.7%. Library and operating voted debt is 4.7%, and then the countywide voted debt is 0.6%, which has dropped. Ad valorem taxes, 25 versus 26. We actually decreased countywide voted debt by 9.6% for 26, for a total countywide increase of 6.4%. Our dependent districts gross total 6.4% increase. So we're looking roughly at 6.4% increase for our total countywide funds and dependent districts. This chart just kind of reflects the history of our changes in property values and millage rate. The Palm Beach County teal reflects a smaller increase than the year before. So that's why it looks like it's leveling off. The black deals with the property values, which also slight increase, but less than last year. So it looks like it's decreasing. It really isn't. It's just a smaller increase over last year. Our millage rate on homesteaded property, when we talk about median, and that's what we're looking at, the median taxable value, half of the units are above that cost and half are below. So we're looking roughly at, for 2026, 162,817 in median taxable value, looking at a 3.3% increase after you've applied the homestead exemptions. Our countywide millage rate actually decreased by 0.1%. So therefore, we're looking at total property taxes, operating and voted debt, increasing by 3.2% over last year. Over, when I say last year, that's this fiscal year, 25 versus 26. Our millage rate impact based on property values, because we know we really don't have homes of 207,000, unfortunately, in Palm Beach County. However, when we look at property value for units that are 389,340, you can see that our 25 millage based over the proposed 2026 for almost a $400,000 home is 3.1%. $500,000 is 3%, and $1 million is right at 3%. Property tax history for a single-family home. Won't walk you through all of it, but we selected Lisa Masters, who is a prime example of people being in their home for a period of time and then purchasing a new home. And so you will see where her value was when she moved into the new home of $400,000, leaping from $300,000. So that was the significant difference. So we looked at just value, the assessed value, and then applied the exemptions for taxable value. And again, at the end of the day, her taxes year over year from 25 to proposed 26, we're looking at a CPI of 2.9%, and she's got a cap now that applies. So she will not be going up above the 2.9% for the cap. Other home owner savings, as I stated earlier, GO bonds, countywide GO bonds for recreation and cultural, that millage rate is decreasing by 0.0059. Library GO bond matures August 1st of this year, and that millage rate will decrease by 0.0098. Our CPI index for homestead exemptions increased 25,000 homestead exemption by 2.89%, or $722, savings of $3.25 at the current millage rate. Our infrastructure sales tax, net savings on sales tax of half a penny. 1 penny IST will end December 2025. County sales tax will be reduced to 6%. However, the school board's new IST will begin January of 2026, and therefore the county sales tax will increase by that half cent, so we'll be at 6.5%. General fund revenue, our budget. For 2026, we're looking roughly at $2.4 billion. $1.5 billion is property taxes, which is 62.4%. The rest of it is adjusted with fund balance, which is a 19% increase. Interfund transfers, 0.7, and then the next larger one is 11% for intergovernmental revenues, license and permits. This next chart simply shows major revenue history. And as we stated earlier, we are losing some of our major revenues, and it is decreasing by 21 million. So we're working toward that. In addition, our local option sales tax is also decreasing by $1 million. Population history. We're looking at our population history. You see where we spiked in 2022, but then we didn't really decrease, we just didn't grow. Continuing to grow, we're growing at 1%, whereas the rest of the state is growing at a little over 1.5%. And that does make a difference in how sales tax are distributed. It is based upon population. So even though we're growing, we're just not growing as fast as other counties within the state of Florida. So we end up with a little less revenue than we did the year before. Moving on to sales tax history. On this page, you can see where our Palm Beach County population continues to grow. Our half-cent sales tax also grew. One of the things that perplexed us was that we knew for our penny sales tax that we were generating more revenue than we anticipated, but yet the state was dropping. And so we kind of looked at it, and overall, the state did drop slightly. We continued to generate more revenue here in Palm Beach County in sales tax, which we are a donor. And because our population did not keep pace as much as we'd like, we ended up donating even more because we didn't grow as fast. State shared revenues, and that is where we were hit the hardest on the growth. You guys got anything to add to that? Infrastructure surtax, I just summed that up. This is the full amount. We send up to the state. They take a portion of administrative fees out, and then they send all of that infrastructure sales tax, the residuals, back to us. So we don't have to share, or did not share, that penny sales tax with other counties throughout the state. But the other half-cent sales tax we must share. General fund expense by budget. This is our proposed 2026 budget. This deals with the general fund of the $2.4 billion. The sheriff makes up, just strictly for the sheriff's service, which is primarily road patrol, is 32%. The services that the sheriff carries out on our behalf, such as the jail, judicial, and the others, are roughly about 11.8%. So a total that is allocated to the sheriff would be roughly about 42%, 43%. Other constitutional officers is roughly about 4.6 of that 2.4 billion. Debt service is 2%, capital is 10.6, reserves is 15.1, and the general fund BCC departments under you is roughly about 24.1%. This is a chart that kind of gives you a little history on BCC department expenditures over the last 5 years going into the proposed budget. For BCC departments, gross does not reflect revenues, 2.3% over budget. Sheriff is roughly about 11.1%. Other constitutional officers, 10.2%. Debt service, a negative 11%. And CRAs are 10.8%. Reserves are negative 13.7%. Capital remained relatively flat, and then our non-departmentals decreased by a negative 9.5%, for a total of 2.9% overall for the general fund history. CRA just shows where they're doing very well. Approved supplemental request, and I know that we sent out a packet earlier. It has a lot of detail. Hopefully you have that at your desk as well and have been able to go through it. But this is a summary of it, and it reflects a total of, with revenues included, 2.7 million decrease. 19 new positions in the general fund, and a millage rate of 0.00811 when we're looking at our general fund departments. Other departments increased by 19 million for a total of 156 positions. I also have a list of things that were not recommended in this budget, and these are from our general fund departments. I do believe they needed everything they requested, but when you've got to balance the budget, you can't give everything that is being requested. So we prioritized and submitted what we could submit on a balanced budget. This next chart reflects the net ad valorem percentage by departments. And again, we get down to the 2.17% overall by BCC departments. Administration increased due to half a position being funded out of ad valorem for our water policy issues, and the other 0.5% is through WUD. We also transferred our Assistant County Administrator, Isami Ajala, to admin full, so that her position will be open to advertise. I do want to highlight, which was very painful, but I needed to do it in order to balance the budget, and that is we reduced demucking, which was $3 million and have been for a number of years. We took half of that, 1.5 million remains in the fund. We also did HIP, which was 15 million, so 7.5 million we balanced out. However, if projects come in and they need this money and it exceeds what's in the budget, we have reserves that we can always come to the board with. But this was a tight year in trying to balance the budget. I think the next highest was planning, zoning, and building, and that is because we instituted steps. So people come in at one level, they acquire licenses or meet criteria, they move to the next step. And this is to retain our employees because we were losing them. We were training them and others were taking them, such as the private sector and some cities who happen to pay a little bit more and the person ended up with less work. This is a chart that we show you on an annual basis that kind of gives you a feel of budgets and how we're increasing. I do like to point out the fact that our ad valorem funded county departments, which is the teal blue, still remains below our population in CIP, Tabor. Changes in net operating budget. We're looking at the sheriff, where in '07 we were relatively flat. In 2026, his cost has continued to escalate, and so has ours. Positions. We roughly have about I'm proposing 7,300 positions, 7,400, and that is primarily a bulk of them are fire rescue. 19, I think, are in the general fund, and we're still below where we were on a per capita basis in '08. So we need to add positions as revenues continue to come in. I'm looking at current vacancies. Our new HR director has definitely implemented some new procedures that will allow us to advertise and make changes on a day-to-day basis when we're advertising positions, as opposed to having to wait a week or more. And it is definitely helping. So we're moving forward on filling a number of those positions. Our current vacancy rate as of May 8th was roughly about 9.3%. The rule of thumb is usually about 10% is reasonable. So we're under that, and we continue to move forward on getting these positions filled. One of the issues that we've had in the past is that certain trades, certain classifications, when they put a position out and that position number is there, it stays in the advertising mode, but yet they're filling newer openings. So we're going to change that so it reflects the true meaning of what we're doing. So the oldest position is now going to be the first, as long as it's within that classification of positions. So we're moving forward. Summary of grants. We're all a bit anxious on grants, but our departments have been speaking with the federal as well as the state. And so far, very few have come back to tell us we're not funding you. And I've got a few listed on the next page that we are aware they have eliminated those or will be. But right now, we've got 273 grants that generate roughly about $368.9 million. We've got state grants of 127, which generates roughly about 223.8 million. Other grants are 36 and generate roughly about 13.1 in the current budget. There are a total of 146 positions that are funded through these grants, either whole or partially, because they do more than one job. But at this point, we did not make drastic changes because we're not aware that they're cutting these. And we did reach out to our federal partners as well as our state partners to find out what the status was. Grants. We know that the Office of Resiliency has lost the $1 million. We did expend funding, I want to say 100,000. Out of this $1 million for trees, they will reimburse us for the 100,000 what we incurred, but we've lost the other 900,000. The $3 million does not align with the new federal program, so that has been eliminated. And then our grant from U.S. Department of Treasury for ERAP, which is our Emergency Rental Assistance Program 2, that grant ends September 30th, and we don't anticipate it being replaced. Capital. Our capital improvement program, as you know, is a 5-year capital improvement plan that we put before you, but only the first year is adopted, is assured. The rest of the years are not, because it depends upon revenue and what's coming in, and the board's wishes if they decide to change things. We attempt to pay as we go, which I really like, but it ensures continued operations and reliability, reduces liability, it relieves more costly and or numerous repairs, reduces downtime for programs and services by pre-planning and coordinating the work to minimize service delivery and operational impacts. Our plan for larger projects, multi-year funding, as you know, we look to phase those type of projects, and then we may be looking at bonds, grants, and other revenues to fund those. Project cycles. Once a project is approved by the board, funding carries until that project is completed. So what you will see in this budget is the first year, and that is what we're budgeting for fiscal '26. Some of these projects have already been fully funded. It's reflected in the prior year column when you look at the spreadsheet. And others are broken up to design and engineering for phase 1, and then construction in the other phases. Okay, cover that. Types of capital revenue, ad valorem, of course, and that's the general fund unrestricted, fire rescue restricted, and the library ad valorem is restricted. Those are special revenue funds, so you can only use the funds for the purpose in which they were intended in those particular funds. We can't transfer them. And any interest earned must be kept within the funds in which the interest is earned if it is restricted. The infrastructure surtax changes must be recommended by the Oversight Committee. And as I stated earlier, the infrastructure sales tax ends this December of 2025, unfortunately. Gas tax is used only for road construction, maintenance, bridge maintenance, transportation system expenditures, including mass transit. Impact fees are used only for the purpose and in the area which the fees were collected. Proportionate share, bonds, tourist development tax must be spent for beach preservation or stadium/convention center and what the statute allows. Grants are provided for specific purposes. Building fees must be spent for building. Enterprise fees stay within airports and water utilities, and then interests. So as we move forward, looking at our 5-year capital program with all sources, this totals $3.6 billion. The bulk of that deals with, in revenue, comes from loans, bond proceeds to be determined by the board. Ad valorem taxes adjust for 30.5% of the funding. We also look at the enterprise revenue. They generate 11.9%, and then the rest of it are smaller revenues that generate for that. For our capital expenditures, again, it's $3.6 billion. We're looking at the largest increase was with facilities development and operations, and that's to complete some of the projects that you have designated. I do want to give a shout out for our FDO department. They closed a number of signature projects, legacy projects that have been lingering for many, many years. We finally got them completed, so I have to give them a shout out for that. We're looking at engineering and public works. They make up 21.1%, and then parks and rec is 21.9%. We have a variety. We have extensive amounts of parks in our community, national award-winning parks, and the more parks we bring on, the more operation and maintenance, and it is catching up with us. So we're gonna need to invest even more funding in the future when it comes to operation and maintenance for our parks department. We got fire rescue at 7.2%, county library at 4.3%, and information system services at 3.5%. Of the funding of $3.6 billion in our 5-year capital plan for fiscal year 2026, ad valorem funding equates to $124 million. And the bulk of that is, again, engineering at 21.5%, parks at 24.2%, facilities at 33.2%. Information system services at 20%, and then at 0.2%. Next chart just reflects the history of our general fund ad valorem funding for capital versus the CPI. And as you can see, this board has allowed us to grow our capital plan back from when it was decimated during the recession. And we're very close to where we would have been had we followed the CPI every year. Debt service, general obligations bonds, and they must be approved by the voters, and dedicated line item on our property bill. We have an outstanding balance of $104.9 million, and that's on page 53 of your backup documentation. Non-ad valorem bonds, that is on page 56 and 57 of your backup, and that totals an outstanding balance of $623.9 million. That's outstanding. Our self-supporting revenue bonds, which is primarily our enterprise funds, our airports and our WUD, equates to $159.4 million. Try not to put you to sleep, but so this next one just kind of breaks out our AAA bond rating, which I think are all proud of. And in the last 10 years, we've been able to upgrade to AAA our non-ad valorem bonds as well as our revenue bonds for water utilities and airports. our general, and maintain our GO bonds. Our general obligation bonds, I'm not going to read all of this, but it is capped at 10 mil. It is not calculated within our 10 mil cap because the voters vote to assess themselves on it. It's countywide, and bond proceeds must be used for a paramount public purpose. And this is a summation of our Palm Beach County bonded debt bond ratings from our rating agencies. And then I give you a listing of our current outstanding GO bonds. We do have a GO bond for our workforce affordable housing, which our voters approved November 8th of 2022 for $200 million. We issued $94.94 million. Staff is continuing to work with our financial advisor, our underwriting bond counsel, and our partners to come up and refine how we're issuing the dollars that you have already allocated for the $94 million. Our NAV revenue bonds are not backed by ad valorem. It's backed by all other revenues that the county generates, and it must be used for a public purpose. And again, I've got a listing of our current outstanding NAV bonds. And then we lay out over the next 5 years our funding sources to pay off our NAB bonds. This is for debt service. The next sheet is our self-supporting revenue, which is our ad valorem, and they also are laid out as far as what our outstanding amount is for each of the projects that we have issued the revenue bonds, and they generate their own revenue to pay the debt service. Fund balance. It's a percentage of our balance of revenues by the end of the year. And when you look at this particular scale, these are entities that have, all three rating agencies have rated them AAA, or they've got one or two of the agencies rating them. Sometimes they haven't issued certain bonds through a certain rating agency, so they don't rate them. So sometimes that's why there's a difference between all three rating agencies versus one or two. And we're well within line. We're a little low, but we're higher than Manatee and Orange County. Our general fund balance history, as you can see, we continue to move forward in 23 on our fund balance, thank you, as well as 24. We took a slight dip in 25 because of taking the $45 million out of reserves for the president's protection here in Palm Beach County. General fund summary, just to give you an idea over a 5-year look back, 4-year look back. We're looking at actual for 23, the adopted budget, the estimated, and then 24 actual, 25 budget modified, and then the estimate for 25, and then the proposed 26. Potential bond issues for 2026, based upon your direction. One would be for animal care and control, and that will be for the construction of it. We already have the design ready to go. And that's roughly anywhere between 70 to 80 million that we believe it will cost to build that facility that you approved. The Airport Center 3 property appraiser and tax collector, we're looking to potentially issue enough bonds so that we can do the A&E for that particular facility, and then South County Administrative Complex A&E.
And if I can add, it's in the package, but we also have 810 Datura replacement, the community services building, and that will need some additional funding, and it is listed in the package as for a potential part of our bond, but we just didn't make it on the slide and realized it today, so I just wanted to bring that up.
which they'll be moving to 45th Street Complex. ARPA replacement. The board directed us to allocate the funding of ARPA in these particular categories. Some of the dollars have already been expended, others are in the process of being expended, and as a result, because the projects haven't fully moved out, we generated roughly about $19.6 million in interest in this particular fund. That is the amount after the mid-year budget amendment. We're also looking at, for those particular projects identified, an additional $4 million needed for septic to sewer, and that's to complete our parks, moving off of septic onto sewer. We're looking at the EOC connection to connect our EOC building to 4 Points so that our employees are not between Bravo shift and Alpha shift, not transversing when the storm is there. It's a very dangerous situation. PBSO data center, that we need another $2 million. That's a new building, and it includes generators so that we can relocate and expand their data center. 6.35 remains in unallocated for projects. The other projects that we will be looking for direction, we're looking at a total projected estimated cost for Ramada Inn of $21 million. When we develop our incoming budget year, we also look out so that the board will have an idea of what we're looking at. And this projects from fiscal year 25, the current year we're in, to 2030. So we're actually looking at revenues that will increase over the years, we anticipate. Expenditures will continue to increase. And we're looking at a total budget for 2026, projected shortfall for the current millage rate, 5.588. If we go with our current millage rate with the balanced budget and what we anticipate revenues coming in between June 1st and July 1st will be balanced. However, the maximum millage rate with a simple majority vote, we have to roll back to 4.4835 in order to move forward. We would need a supermajority vote because we exceed the simple majority vote of 4.4835. And that is for 26. And then as we continue to move out, we show deficits and that we will definitely need supermajority votes in the future.
No, that's not true. Only for 27.
27. 28 we got on
28
there?
we don't.
Yeah, did I have the wrong thing? Okay. That's why we have a team, because I can't read this tiny print. So we'll need a supermajority vote in 27, but we will not in, as we project, in 28, 29, and 30. Should be okay. Future funding, budget issues. Yeah. So then we'll move on to direction requested. One of the things that we were asked to look at was to increase commission district operating budgets by $10,000 for each of you, which would equate to $70,000. We were also requested to look at allocating potential dollars for mid-county planning of $1 million. You also talked about early on a county organizational review and assessment. We're not sure what that amount would be. What's not also included in here is the additional $20 million I told you about with the sheriff. That is not included in the budget. FAAs and our CBAs request of 3% is not included in here. It also reflects $415,000 for our FAAs and $178,000 for our CBAs in order to give them the 3% increase. And then how to allocate any additional property tax revenue we're going to receive in values June 1, and you'll have another opportunity. We usually generate $3 to $4 million between June 1 and July 1. And then we have other external funding requests that are not included in here. And the Lord's Place, as you are well aware, also sent a letter, I want to say toward the end of last year. They were requesting $750,000. However, verbally, they did tell us they could live with the $250,000 because that would help with their outreach program. And then Prospera, which is another entity, asked for $100,000. So none of these things are included in the proposed budget I have submitted to you. So if we're looking for direction on what you would like for us to include in the budget as we come back to you on June 10th.
Okay. That was pretty comprehensive. What would you like from us now? Questions?
Questions, directions? Yes.
Who's first to turn their light on since nobody has? Okay, Vice Mayor Baxter.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for explanations, the budget. Start with some questions. If we set the max millage rate lower than the current max millage rate, what would that look like, or what would we be at if we didn't need a supermajority vote? What was the rollback, I believe?
It would be 4.4835, and you'd need to cut almost 6 million.
4.48, you said?
Mhm.
And right now, we're at 4.5?
Mhm.
And you said we would need to pad 6 million?
Yeah,
To cut $6 million.
almost.
I'm sorry? What's the rollback rate?
4.48.
No,
Oh, they said.
that's the not needing a super.
The rollback would be 4.29.
Right, yeah, the rollback is 4.29, and you'd have to cut 67.5 million, over 67.5 million to get to rollback.
So to get to the 4.4835, we would only have to cut 6 million?
It's actually just over 5.5, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, what was so we had roughly 600 something open positions. What is the total amount that those positions are funded for?
We can get you that. However, the bulk of those are not in the general fund. The bulk of those are fire rescue positions that we're getting ready to hire for and additional positions needed.
When you say bulk, are we talking over 500 positions for fire rescue? Or
No.
are we talking over 250? What are we talking bulk of? And then how many of those are ad valorem funded?
Got it?
So only 330 of the positions are ad valorem funded. And they're in different phases of the hiring process. Only 71 have been vacant over a year.
And what is the total amount we're funding those for?
I don't have that information.
Are those new positions? Any of them new?
No. Next. I'm going to go down your list of direction requested.
Okay.
I am fine with the first one, just because the cost of everything for countywide has gone up. I think that also impacts our offices as well. I think even fees have increased, cost of everything has increased. We feel that as well. Second, mid-county planning of $1 million. Could I get some more detail on that?
That's our central municipalities, Lake Clark Shores, Palm Springs, Green Acres. Those are areas that we have been working with over the years to try to bring them up with the rest of the county. A lot of them are where our affordable housing happens to be. We're also looking to bring economic development into those areas. So we're working with our cities, and so we want to work with them on planning and making sure that we're adequately planning not only for housing, but also economic development.
That's very vague, but I'll support it because we love our District 3 and some other surrounding areas. County organizational review and assessment. Could we elaborate a little bit on that?
That was one the board, when you discuss, where are we? What does the county administrator, what are you responsible for versus a number of other things? What are other counties doing? How do they do it? That's what this particular organizational review and assessment would look at, how we operate, and then compare us to other comparable counties.
So amount unknown, are we going to set a max to that, or are we just writing a blank check at this point?
We'd never write a blank check.
Exactly. So when it says amount unknown, it's a little concerning.
We would need to do reach out. Before we did that, we wanted to talk to the board. Before it was RMS, I think, that did the assessment for us before the IST issue. And how much did we spend? 6?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I
We'll
don't remember.
get
I'd
an
have to
answer
look.
to the board. We'll follow up, as we usually do, with a memo back to the board on questions that you have and we didn't have the answer to.
Okay. And then the PBSO cut to the balance, do you mean, are we just going to take that out, assuming we never get it back federally?
This 20 million has nothing to do with President
The
Trump's
POTUS protection.
Has
Okay.
nothing
So
to
what
do
is
with it.
this 20 million?
This is the 20 million that the sheriff requested that is not in this particular budget. He did reduce his 163 million request by 37 million, but we needed an additional 20 million from him. So I did not put it in, recommend it. However, if there is an increase in values, that is something that the board can consider at that time.
I'm going
or
to try to say
mid-year.
this in plain English, so tell me if I'm wrong. So the
Okay.
sheriff is requesting one amount, and you don't agree with that amount, so you didn't put the 20 million in it?
That is correct.
Okay,
Because
just
he
making
would've-
sure I'm
yes,
understanding
ma'am.
what's going on
His
here.
initial request was 163 million. We're only projecting, we're gonna receive 93 million. So it far exceeded the revenue we were estimating. I did work with the sheriff, because we always work together. He did reduce it again by, again, 37 million, but we needed that additional 20. I want to say that his budget went up roughly about 12% with what we allocated in the budget, 104 million, if I make no mistake, 106, 104 million. My departments went up by 2.17%. We can't balance anymore on your departments. We are bare bones. And we need positions. So I can't, unless you want me to cut basic service on our side of the table in order to give the 20 million. We just don't have it. Unless we reduce reserves or capital, or capital. And you gave me directions not to do that, so I did not.
I'll come back to that. FAA and CBA request of 3% to 415K. What is that in regards to?
That's just their more operating costs for our partners that we fund. They actually perform a function for the county, and we feel it's more efficient if they did it because they don't have to pay all the benefits necessarily we pay, and it's more economical for them to do it, provide those services for us. If I had the money, without having to cut, I would give them the cost of that. That's just the cost of living increase I think that if we generate more revenue, that is one that I would recommend to the board to consider giving our FAAs and CBAs those additional funds.
Based on property values and our millage, current millage rate, how much additional revenue did we bring in as a county?
It's right now, this preliminary, it's 93 million.
And you're saying that isn't covering everything that we,
Well, the sheriff's increase is 106 million.
Over and above 25's budget.
and external funding sources, the Lord's Place of 750K and Prospera? I can't think of who Prospera is. I do know the Lord's Place raises over 26 million a year on their own, and we are always trying to help organizations that help themselves and just not funding them. And they provide more housing, and this has been a priority of this board than anywhere else. So how did they get the cut to end up on the list of us to decide yes or no on?
They're not cut. This would be new dollars that they're requesting over and above what they currently get
And
from us.
what do they currently get?
You know what they get? I'm gonna look back at staff. Taruna, do you have that number? Plus, we also have an RFP out, a NOFA out right now that they did apply for. We won't know the outcome of those dollars until sometime in June. So we'll present that at that time.
I'm gonna, before I comment on, I think I've commented on the first 2 and 3, I wanna know the amount. I'll wait to hear from the rest of my board. Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You forgot to say something, Ms. Baker. What's our credit rating?
AAA.
Let's hear it.
GO as well as non-ad valorem, and that is unusual.
We're doing pretty darn well, aren't we?
Doing very well.
And there are some unknowns. We have some unknown federal cuts, possibly. But we also have some unknown income coming as well. So you've done an amazing job. This is very impressive. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. If I could start, I'll get to the board direction slide, but I wanted to inquire a little bit more about the ARPA slide, page 65, 66. Just help me out with this. We have a number of allocations here that we still have money tied to. I take it this was when the ARPA dollars came in originally, it was kind of allocated by this board on where this money would go. How are we looking on spending the rest of this money? And is there any risk, because I don't think that this was part of it, but I know some money has kind of been sent back to the feds that wasn't spent, or any types of conversations. This money it's
Oh, ma'am,
here.
this is
here.
We spend all of our money. We ended up receiving other counties' unspent funds in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
These particular dollars are our replacement dollars because we were able to convert the ARPA response funding because we lost revenue that equated to the amount that we were getting. So the board gave us direction to use it as a replacement. But I challenged our departments to stay very close to the timeline that the feds had established because the board had allocated these dollars for this purpose. So we're continuing to move forward on spending. The remaining funds that are not committed by contract or encumbered, roughly about 23.8 million is in housing for workforce affordable, And we have projects that we've got necessarily may be able to use these dollars. We will spend these dollars first. In addition, we've got the infrastructure county buildings. This is for our HVAC systems and other applicable projects that we've got projects lined up for them. 47 million of infrastructure water resiliency type projects. Again, this is our parks to sewer, where we move them from septic to sewer. It's just taking time to get these completed. Along with 14 million, this is for 4 points. That's our hardening, our bridging EOC to 4 points, which this is not going to be enough. We're going to need some additional dollars based upon the estimate. And then we've got the South Lake Worth Inlet seawall replacement. We're moving forward with that project. We just have not expended all of the funds. So that's the 10 million. But because we have these projects and they're either encumbered and or we're moving forward with the expenditures, we've been able to generate 19.6 million in interest because they're in this fund and they've been sitting there, so we're earning interest on the dollars that we have not
And
expended.
that interest, does it need to go back into where these ARPA dollars came from, or is that general?
No, yes, that could be general fund swept. However, of that 19.6 million, we're looking at a shortfall of 4 million for sewer to septic, septic to sewer in our parks to complete those projects. The EOC connection looks like it's going to be an additional 7.25 million. And then the PBSO data center is roughly about 2 million, which then leaves a remaining allocation of 6.3 million that we can sweep and utilize unless the board decides you want to take all 19 million of them.
So part of that would be to cover any of the shortfalls that were originally allocated with this money? Okay, thank you. And then, you know, we are, and Commissioner Sachs kind of alluded to it, we're in sort of uncertain times moving forward, you know, with decisions made at the state level and at the federal level. So I'm not inclined to go with any of the increases that were requested. Just, you know, where we could be having an entire discussion on whether or not, you know, what's on the ballot next year for property taxes and our sales tax, which, you know, thank you for the understanding on why our sales tax share is going down. Even though our population is growing, we're just not growing as quickly as other areas. So they're actually taking a percentage from us. Has nothing to do with how much sales tax we actually generate.
Right, because we generate
So,
quite a bit in
yeah.
Palm Beach County.
And so that's interesting. Good information for us to have. I don't support I don't any of these. The one question that I did have, you mentioned the Lord's Place had said 250 versus the 750. Did they give a reason with the different number? Would that support something that?
Well, I share with others the difficulties we have with the revenues, so I'm upfront. And I believe that they understood that. And so that's when they said, well, if you can just fund the 250 for the outreach team. However, there is an NOFA.
Is this meant to be a recurring, or is this a one-time?
This is recurring.
Good afternoon, James Green, Director of Palm Beach County Community Services. To answer your question first, yes, they are applying for through the NOFO process. We haven't provided those recommendations. Those will come to you in July of this year. And then to answer the other question, it's around $950,000 that they're receiving from Community Services.
That they already receive? Okay, thank you. That was the question. Yeah, so I wouldn't support at this time increasing any of what you haven't already added. We don't know what's coming. I think we're gonna have a little more pain before it gets better. And then as far as how to allocate any additional property tax revenue, my suggestion would be that should go back into reserves that have been somewhat depleted, especially since we're expecting to get reimbursed for POTUS security detail, but we don't know the timing on that, so I think it would behoove us to keep that money, and hopefully, like before, when there was a congressional line item that could get funded to us, but until that's set up, we don't know when. It could be a long time before that happens, so I would support putting that into reserves with the anticipation if we have to pull it back for the sheriff to do the security, then we do have it. But hopefully we get reimbursed quickly. So that's my input.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
So I think, first of all, we are in a preliminary budget hearing, right? And a lot of these numbers are estimated. Am I correct about that? When I look at the general fund summary, page 62, and we look at the estimates for 2025, which is the second to last column from the right, you guys have it estimated at $1.369 billion, correct? But yet we estimated on 1.4. So are we expecting for the values to go down or not collecting on those projections?
We typically collect around 96% of our property tax revenues every year, and that's the number that you're seeing.
So when we did our projections, we didn't account for that 96%?
We do.
We do.
We do. There's
So then what's
see the line called statutory reserves? That's a 5% adjustment to revenue where we account for that. And that's per state statute. We have to budget 95% of our revenues, not 100.
So then for 2026, you're projecting 1.5.
Mm-hmm. And then I have the statutory reserves of 101. The estimate does not include the statutory reserves is, like, we estimate real numbers for the estimate.
So we're still in a wait and see to what actually occurs, correct?
We are, but we are. And we do anticipate when we receive the preliminary valuations from the property appraiser, the revenue will go up.
Right.
We do anticipate that. I don't think it's going to blow us out of the water.
Right, but
Usually we generate, about 10 to 12 million?
Each 1% increase in property value is about $14.5 million.
right. So we were expecting to get actually accurate numbers on June 1st.
The June 1st is still preliminary estimate from the property appraiser. She gives us our final valuations on July 1.
Okay,
or
so on
before
July, I mean,
1.
yep.
July 1 is the finals.
Okay. So we're still estimates.
I'm very comfortable with the estimates. We go back, we look at history, see how it's coming in. I've had numerous conversations with the property appraiser, and I'm going to give you a conservative budget.
Right.
Because we don't want to have to go back and cut. If we add, the board
Right.
decides to add, that's one thing, but I don't want the board to have to go back and reduce what we're bringing to you.
Yeah, because on here you have 25 million for interest earned, and I think we had our clerk say that was well over that 25 million for this upcoming year.
Well, keep in mind, the overall interest is earned on all of our funds.
Correct.
But that interest is also restricted to certain funds.
But we're still estimating that it's going to be above 25 million.
What do you do? Yeah. 24, we're estimating we'll receive in the general fund this year.
Okay.
For 25.
But we've heard from the clerk that it's probably going to be higher.
I hope so.
I hope so too. All right. So going to the ARPA replacement reserves, that 19.6, I agree with finalizing these projects, the shortfalls, which then leaves us with $6.35 million. And in regards to the direction that you're requesting, I think we don't have to make a final decision today because we don't have final numbers. And I think we can make better decisions once we have those final numbers. In regards to the things that are coming before us, especially with a few of these things, I'm okay with. And in regards to the mid-county planning, I do want to share with my fellow commissioners, what we're trying to do is a one-time plan for the district. It actually expands beyond the district. And the idea is to incite economic development in the district. So I think ultimately what you're going to see from this plan is be returned to us back in tenfold, because we're going to stimulate economic development in an area that really hasn't had much economic development in the county. So this is a one-time ask. I hope that we can be able to find the dollars to create prosperity in an area that hasn't had much prosperity in a long time. It's very seldom that you have different entities come together and sort of have one cohesive idea or plan. And I think the municipalities in the mid part of the county have all come together and sort of started spearheading some of these projects. And even outside of my district, it includes Atlantis, Lantana, Harbor Hill. So this is not just a district-specific ask, but this is sort of the central part of the county looking for us to look at ways to incentivize and increase economic development in that region. So I hope that you guys would consider that. Like I said, this is a one-time investment that I firmly believe we're going to get back tenfold and increase property values in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Administrator Baker, I see that you indicate we'll have a $2.7 million in net supplemental reductions, and that is included even with the keeping the millage rate constant at 4.5. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, that does reflect revenues that we're projecting will come in. So that help offset some of our, help offset the expenses.
Okay.
And we decrease HIP by 7.5 million and 1.5 million out of demucking.
And when you, thank you for that. And when you decrease HIP by 7.5 million, what does that decrease look like in total?
We will still have 7.5 million in the housing initiative plan. So we'll still have 7.5 million in there, and we'll also have 1.5 million in demucking.
Okay. Prior to the decrease, we would have had 15 million in there?
15 million, yes, sir.
And housing, of course, is one of our biggest areas. With that decrease of 7.5 million this year, what does that look like if you were to extrapolate out or make the projection for the year, for the next fiscal year?
Again, I'm a housing advocate, so I would love to add another 5 million if the revenues support it next year. That is something that this board has allowed us to do, was to continue to add additional ad valorem dollars for the HIP fund. We've spent some of the dollars out of the HIP fund when they didn't fit into other categories. Again, if projects come in and we desperately need them and this board will support it, we'll ask you to take it out of the general fund when that project is ready to go. If it's shovel ready and that's the only funding we can come up with.
Thank you. On page 10, with the ad valorem taxes, we see where we've decreased debt, but that 6.4% total county-wide, what does that mean?
That means the difference between our proposed 2026 budget increased roughly about 6.4%. That includes our general fund, countywide voted debt, Also, our Palm Beach County Library, because it's a special, it's on dependent district. Yeah, it's a dependent district. Fire Rescue, MSTU, and the Jupiter MSTU. So it includes every entity in which we assess Avalon funding for. That increased by 6.4%.
Thank you. The Jupiter MSTU, that's a separate item. Is that new because Jupiter's starting? or is
No,
that- okay.
it's been there, but they've always been carved out because they've been more of a contractual relationship. And they actually used to go down, but this year they're up by 11.6%.
Okay. Thank you. The 5-year capital improvement plan, it's only the first year it's adopted. It depends on revenue. If you've adopted the first year and you've started the capital projects and it's based on or depends upon revenue, what happens in the middle of a project if you've only funded that first year and then the second year the funds are not there? Does it stop the process, or once it's funded and the project is started, it continues?
Well, again, every year that you adopt that incoming fiscal year, it depends on how much revenue is coming in. We do plan for not only the first phase, which is usually A&E, but we plan for the construction phase. And if you'll notice, when we talk about bonds and what we're going to recommend to the board for your consideration to issue bonds for animal care and control, that's the construction dollars, because we don't have enough. And then we will also add in A&E for Airport Center 3, the new community service facility on 45th Street. What's the third one? South County admin.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the things I don't think that was mentioned that's kind of shown in our backup is the idea of additional fees for park rentals and parking in some of the parks. I think up to $4, I saw some places. Is that included in this overall proposal for the budget?
Yes, sir, it is.
So we would be moving forward with those increases in fees.
They're limited. We've got 2 parks that we assess, beach parks that we assess fees for. They're located within municipalities or adjacent to those municipalities, and those municipalities charge. So we're just keeping pace with the adjacent beach park in those 2 areas. We did not increase the other beach parks. One of the other dealt with our ball fields, where we allow individual groups to rent those, and they use them for their teams. So we're going up on that cost because everything else is going up. And this is a balance between how much we're going to pay out of ad valorem and how much we're going to assess for user fees. But again, this is our estimate and our best projections.
Madam Administrator, are there any instances in which parks were being able to be used for free and now there'll be an assessment? As this is something that someone brought to me while I was at a community event. Jennifer.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Baker. For the record, I'm Jennifer Cirillo. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation for Palm Beach County. There is one supplemental, and you will see in your packet. I know in the actual packet that was sent to you from Lisa, it's on page 50. I'm not sure the page in the presentation. There is a new fee, Commissioner, yes, that currently our nonprofit sport providers do not pay and have not paid in the history of our department to use our athletic fields. That is our youth sport providers and our senior sport providers, primarily senior softball. They have not paid to use county facilities. Philosophically, our board direction has been to be free and affordable access to the public. That really is our goal. We did, however, have to provide a few revenue strategies for your consideration because I cannot, in good faith, cut our department maintenance
any further. We're still down 100 positions from 2009 in park maintenance. You will see I proposed some park maintenance and park safety strategies in our supplemental requests. So these revenue strategies were really to deal with our increased costs in maintaining our department, maintaining the services. And this is a new fee. That is the one new fee. The others are incremental costs, as Ms. Baker said. The beach parking that is included in your supplemental budget is only for the 2 existing parks where we have to charge beach parking currently. That's Kreuzler Park, that is technically within the town of Palm Beach, although it looks like it's right next to Lake Worth Municipal Beach. That is required because it's in the town of Palm Beach that we do charge there. And then the other county beach park that we must charge at currently is South Inlet Park. It's in the city limits of Boca Raton, and they require per our development order that we charge at that park. So that's going from $3, which we currently charge per hour, to $4. That is the only beach parking that is currently included in the balanced budget as presented.
Thank you. On the ARPA page, which is page 66, the amount in reserves after the mid-year budget amendment would be 19.6 million due to interest earnings. And then I see we would still have 6.35 remaining. The 21 million that would be a project estimate for Ramada Inn. Can you explain that to me? Would the 21 million be taken from the 19.6 million, or is there an additional amount there that this 21 million is already accounted for, if that were to be the case, if we wanted to move forward? How would that work? Where would we get that from?
We would need to come back to the board for the funding allocation of that, once that estimate is finalized.
Thank you. Would that come from the ARPA funds, or would we use a portion of ARPA funds and some other funds?
We don't have enough to pay for the entire 21 million.
Okay.
So it would be a combination of what we have left, and then in addition, coming to the board for the difference.
Thank you. Follow-up to that, the 6.35 that's remaining for allocation to projects, that doesn't even include, that's after the 19.6 million, am I correct?
No, sir, that's the results of deducting what if you decide to move forward with the 3 things we've got outlined, then you have a residual of 6.35 million of the 19 million. That's the leftover funding.
So that's what that would, so if we move forward everything else, we would just,
You'd have 6.35 million.
so if we tried to do the Ramada, we would only be able to use the 6.35 million? Plus
We could
other
apply that
sources.
6.35 million, and then other funding that we would be coming back to the board for.
Thank you.
Point of clarification on the Ramada. Were you done, Bobby?
No, I wasn't, but you can, if you have a point of clarification that would be helpful to the people in the room and the audience at home, please.
I'm asking Dr. Ajala to come forward. We're going to, this item will be brought back to the board, I want to say in June.
Good afternoon. It depends on the final condition assessment negotiations with the owner of Ramada, and should have said is Samia Jala, Assistant County Administrator and Director of Facilities Development and Operations. The $21 million is based on the appraised value we have for the property. We have not completed negotiations because we are still in the process of assessing the property to determine the investment, if any, that needs to be made in order for it to be brought to conditions for a typical county operation and the proposed use. So what you have is the best information we have available as of today.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. For the future, that starts on page 68. The fiscal year 2025 through 2030 projection, we start to, based on the numbers that would be projected out, it looks like we would start to run a deficit beginning in the fiscal year 2027. Am I correct?
Yes, we do anticipate a shortfall in 2027.
is that based on some of the conditions that we're starting to see now, or not even taking into account some of the slowdown that we'll probably see, in addition to who knows how the state will tackle the tax issue? I mean, I'm hearing that one side wants to reduce property taxes while the other side wants to reduce sales tax. Is that something that's accounted for, or that, pardon me, or is that something that's not even, that wasn't even considered in this projection?
It was definitely considered, but it is not in these projections because we don't know what the state nor the federal government is going to end up doing.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we will have some indication soon before our final meeting in July.
Thank you. With regard to direction requested, the direction, number one, would be our operating, commission district's operating budget, 50,000 each, which I see here shows a $70,000 total increase. Where does the 50,000 each? Okay. I get it now. So that's it. I had an aha moment. That $70,000 would be a total increase for our budgets to the entirety of our commission budgets. What percent would that be over last year for us, do you know?
They're currently 10%.
For 20%, because it's 40 now, so it would go up 20% to 50.
20% overall of our entirety of our budget?
Just
The seven county commissioners.
operating. Of his operating. Just the operating, not the personal services. We give you the personal services dollars. We have increased your operating budget over the years. And so that's all we would be increasing is 10,000 for your operating, not your personal. We calculate that and give you those numbers.
Okay. I see there's additional questions with regard to county organizational review and assessment. PBSO cut to balance. We talked about the $20 million that the sheriff agreed to reduce.
He agreed with the 37 million. It's a total of 57 million cut from the 163 million that he submitted. He agreed to 37. He and I talked. He well, I don't know if he understands, but he knew that I would be not recommending the additional 20 million at this time.
Thank you for that. And the FAA's and the CBA's request 3%, that 415,000, 178,000 respectively. Know the amount, consider. Oh, I'm good with that. Here's a question. With regard to how to allocate any additional property tax revenue from the June 1st values, that would be a request on us if there are additional funds that come in after June 1st, additional direction, correct?
That is correct. You will receive some additional funds. And if you receive those additional funds, you got a couple of options. You can, pull some of these items off of this list and fund them. You can put them in reserves. I'm always a reserve kind of gal because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what services, grants are going to be cut. We don't know quite how FEMA is going to respond if we end up in a crisis, and this would build our reserves back up. But that's a choice by the board.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. One of the things I would like to point out, I know I've looked through the budget, and the Historic Roosevelt Museum, which is something that we've funded in the past, unless it's under museums and parks, I know I see Murakami in here, does not have additional funding. So I would like to see us provide additional funding to the Historic Roosevelt Museum if we're able to see additional revenues and we're not making any cuts I would also recommend, I know we haven't talked about this, but it's right up here, as we talk about property values increasing, potentially values increasing by 6%, you know, as my thought process, and I looked that we would still, in this budget, have an increase for staff of 6% across the board.
Yes, sir.
So I want to make sure that whatever we do does not impact that increase that we propose for staff. External funding requests that are not included, the $750,000 for the Lord's Place. Currently, you indicated, Madam Administrator, that the Lord's Place would be okay with an additional $250,000, which of my understanding at this point, for this particular request for their outreach program, and I know Mr. Green had come up, we're not responsible for funding the outreach program as it is right now. Am I correct? I may have misunderstood.
Good morning, James Green, Community Services. We are providing a one-time $250,000 to support the outreach program.
In this budget?
So that is what we're providing for FY25, but it's not in the budget that you're looking at for FY26.
Okay. So that's what we were saying when we said it'd be recurring. Okay, I get it now.
And we are requesting, with Diane, Ms.
Stanley?
I did request that she go to the city as well and ask the city to share in this cost. It's in the heart of the city of West Palm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, Madam Administrator. The Prospera, I'm not very familiar with Prospera.
It's an organization that submitted a request to a nonprofit. It's more economic development. And so we're looking at that on our economic development side. And if we can fund it out of there, we will. It will more than likely not be at $100,000 that they requested. It may be somewhat short. The business loan fund is no longer functioning, and there was $80,000 associated with that particular program, and it was a small minority women-owned business type program to help our small businesses. So that is something I've got staff reviewing.
Thank you for that. I think that concludes my questions, other than, and I think Ms. Cirillo answered this question, only two of the parks that are currently within municipalities are charging parking fees. What about any new parks that come online? Would they then have parking fees if they're in a municipality or not?
So Camden Milani Park is in progress. That development order also has a requirement, because it's in the town of Highland Beach, that we will have to charge for parking at that beach park. That is not part of this budget process. That's completely separate in developing that park. When it opens, we have to charge a minimum of $4 at that park as well. So these are only county-operated beach parks. So I guess the easiest thing to say is we currently have 14 that are open to the public, county beach-operated parks. Of those 14, we currently charge at 2. Those are the only 2 parks in this current balanced budget proposal that are going from $3 to $4 an hour. And that would be effective October 1. The other 12 parks, although that number was included as a revenue to offset some of the operational needs, that was not a supplemental that Ms. Baker included in her balanced budget. The youth sport fees would be at all county park facilities and fields, and that is a hardship on about 50 or so nonprofit organizations that we currently work with, but that is countywide.
Thank you. Is there an appeal process for those? If they can't afford it, is there an appeal process? Or they just have to work that out, get donations and?
This fee is included across the board. What I would put out there for your consideration is we have not charged this fee. These nonprofits put together their budgets in advance. You know, they spend a lot of money, like all of us, on costs, you know, their uniforms and officials, and they have lots of other expenses that they've made their budgets based on those expenses. There are differences in youth sports types of nonprofits as well. That's something for the board to consider if you don't want to fully support charging a fee. There are nonprofits that everyone's a volunteer coach. Everyone it's a volunteer board. All the kids play. They don't make cuts on their teams. Those are true recreation programs. They're a little bit different than the teams that we permit that even travel. A lot of it's recreational travel now, but we have elite academy, very competitive, highly competitive teams, some that pay their coaches very, very well on county parks, that there is some differentiation among the teams as well, that we could get a little bit further into if the board would like to discuss that. But I don't know if that answers your particular question, Mr. Powell.
It does.
Thank you,
It
Commissioner.
does, thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Baker. I appreciate the work of you and the Office of OFMB and all your departments for putting this together. I know it's challenging with the compressed time frame, but also with a lot of the uncertainty we're all dealing with right now, and appreciate everybody's work. The one real question I have is when in looking at there was a line item for La Quinta at $1 million. And
In this
that's, at some point, it's going to open and come online. And I'm assuming that's what you're putting in for the subsidy for operating it?
Yes, sir.
What if that number, I mean, because you've never operated a facility like
Have not.
this? Nobody has, how much confidence do you have in that number? That seems, and how much, do you have any kind of a contingency built into this budget if that number is incorrect?
We do not have necessarily contingency. I take that back, knowing
You have-
Ismia, what she submitted to us, that she has a tad bit of flexibility in there. We are looking to generate revenue out of here. People will pay a small amount toward the rent. Again, this will be a facility with our name on it, and so we're gonna hold to standards. We more than likely will contract out to a nonprofit to run that facility for us. And so we believe that at this point, that $1 million is a good number.
Okay, I just, I know this is something new. We have never operated and, you know, my understanding is the plan is to bring in seniors and veterans, that there is going to be meal service provided, there's going to be recreation and all sorts of other things that normally, you know, this kind of a facility would have, and not certain that the pencil's got, you know, sharp enough to really understand all the.
We'll go back and revisit it.
I think we need a really good look. I mean, and I understand this is the first time we're doing it, but then we need to have and I know we have contingencies overall that you built in, but I just saw that one line item and $1 million, and it was,
We
And
will
the-
look at it. We've got other programs, senior kind of programs that we will
okay.
join with this as well. And so that should help keep some of the costs down. And I've got my experts standing ready to provide you with some additional information.
Yeah, we've definitely been looking at the numbers. We've been working with our ISS team to save some dollars here and there, risk management team to save some dollars here and there. And so we're looking at those numbers. We believe the $1 million will be sufficient at this point, but if anything changes, certainly we'll let you know.
Right, because it'll be for a full year. When we take over this, I assume it's going to be sometime this summer. It'll start operating, and we'll not have had a full year of understanding its operational costs yet.
Yeah, I would probably, I think September is the preliminary date for operationalizing the La Quinta, and so
Okay.
it's probably
Alright.
more fall.
All right. I think.
Commissioner, may I just clarify something,
Sure.
just in case? We're looking at roughly about $1.9 million to operate, but we also estimated roughly about $900,000 will be coming in as revenue, depending upon the rent and what people can afford to pay.
Right, and my understanding is the plan is to charge
Yes.
30%, 33%
That's correct,
of their income as rent. Okay. All right. As it relates to the direction, I think my colleagues covered pretty much everything else that I was interested in. I think, obviously, the PBSO balance of 20 million, that's to the extent, I want to see what we can do to try and get there. Hopefully, we can do that. Because if not, then I guess then the sheriff goes to the governor and the,
I've spoken with the sheriff on this issue, and we're all facing it. He needs to replace vehicles.
understood.
He's got the body cams, his license is associated with that. And so, one of the things that I've requested is that we get a schedule for replacement, so that we're not trying to replace 50% at one given time. We're replacing them maybe a fourth or third every year so that we don't get hit hard. I do that with my departments. We've got a huge fleet. And so we try to replace them on a schedule. That includes our computer equipment, et cetera. And so we're going to continue to work with the sheriff on this because, their budget, he needs more than we're even generating.
Right, and I 100% understand that, but on the other hand, public safety is,
100%
and I know
agree with
you are, I know you agree. I'm just saying, that's, I would
I
hate.
believe our sheriff will continue to work with us.
Okay.
We have been partners with him, and he has worked with us in the past.
Well-
So I think he'll continue to work
Well,
with
and
us
I
as
want
long
to
as
make
he
sure
knows
we get
we're
him,
open.
we need to make sure we get them their funding that they need. I have I'm supportive of the mid-county planning. I think that's something that's been needed. I think, though, we need to set expectations proper as well. Either that or they got to change their zoning over there if they want to put big tall towers for trying to create that kind of, which actually might make sense in some areas, Central County, to have a real sort of another downtown. So that would be, I think that's something I would support. Regarding the operating budgets for us, costs have gone up. Our fees for the things that we attend have gone up over the last couple of years. And if we don't use that money gets swept back into us, doesn't it? It gets you sweep it back.
To the general fund.
Right. So I don't have if we need to put that in there, that's okay. And obviously it's all going to depend on what happens come July 1st. And that, but I am supportive of our financially assisted agencies, of course, and to the extent we can help fund these other places. So, but again, nothing has to be decided. I think these are, everything you've identified are important services and valuable to the community, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing is decided today. When you say you want direction, we're looking at you. That's our direction. We don't have to decide. First of all, we are not going to make a decision on children's use of our county parks for them to have to pay for the use. Is that right, Ms. Baker?
I have increases in this proposed budget. If the board does not want that, I think it equates to 351,000. That if you want that taken out, I can remove it. If that is the board's direction, we'll have to adjust it based on reserves. taking that out of reserves.
Well, this is, I mean, we have 20 million in reserves.
That is
How
what we
much?
normally start the
Right,
board out
20
every
million.
fiscal
And
year.
this is in pencil,
Yeah.
right? This is in pencil. We're not using pen. So any, no. So I don't want nonprofit children's sports groups to think that they may not be able to play in our county parks because they can't afford the fees. That must not happen, period. So you've done a great job, and this is impressive, in pencil. We don't know what the feds are going to cut. We don't know what funding we're going to get for grants. We don't know if we can have the Lord's Place run the Quinta Hotel, okay? Instead of us giving them money, maybe they can run the hotel for us. But there's all kinds of different ways to massage these numbers because we just don't know.
Right.
And until we know, we will not take any action into cutting our children's sports fees or cutting our children's a possibility of playing in our county park. So that's good. And again, as I said before, we've got AAA rating, we've got a good funding for reserves just in case, and this is Palm Beach County. We're going to be making money. We're going to be okay. So I just don't want any kids to think that they can't continue to practice because those parks will be open for the kids here to play ball. Thank you so much for your job. That's good work. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've gone around once. I haven't said anything, so I'm going to say something now. The ARPA replacement reserves, I am good with the proposed funding for the current project shortfalls, leaving us 6.35 to do what we want with that. As for the direction requests, I would, the Lord's Place does good work, and while they have a big budget, they also do a lot of stuff for the county, and that is one of the reasons when we give dollars to nonprofits, it's because they're relieving the county of a service that we are not providing. So I'm okay with the 250 as a recurring. I'm not okay with 750 as a recurring. Prospera, I've never heard of them, so I would not put $100,000 aside for them. Never heard of them. We have 7,000 nonprofits in the county, and it's very easy for a nonprofit to come and say, "We want money from you," but I have no idea who they are. So I would say no to that. Additional tax revenue, we'll know that coming up. The FAAs and the CBAs, 3% is nothing. So considering everything else that's going on, I would keep that in line. The sheriff, I'm not even going to have that conversation. The assessment, the county organizational review and assessment, that's something that was generated from the huge black binder that we said we would put off until the new county administrator was here. We do need to put a dollar amount to that. Whether we do it this fiscal year or next fiscal year, I'm not sure when this would be actually put out on the street and done. So that might be something that we put in next year's budget as opposed 2027 budget as opposed to 2026, but that'll be a board discussion. I'm sure there'll be discussion about that. Mid-county planning, I'm fine with that. The district budgets, I don't have any idea what, I know we have 40,000 budgeted for all of us. What do we spend as a board? I mean, do each of the different districts have different spending plans? Because I only see mine, so I have no idea what anyone else has and how much everybody has actually spent and how much of that is swept into reserves at the end of the year. So I don't have an answer for that. So if you want to supply me with something, that'd be great.
I did print out the last 5 years of expenses for each district, and everyone starts off with 40,000, and that started in 2023. In 2024. If you have additional money left over in your personal services, you are allowed to move it to your operating. So there are some districts who have done that in the past. In 2024, only District 6. In 2023, District 6 and 7 swept money from personal services and spent more than the 40,000. 2022, it was District 7. 2021, it was District 3. You know, so it's like kind of all over the place. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people travel more than they expect, and so it's really up to you.
Do we all have the same
You all have the same
line
operating.
items?
No, it doesn't matter the line items really, but, you know, you all start out with the same bucket in operating.
Okay, so,
You have the same operating line items unless you want to add something different to your budget for whatever your office, your district needs are. And I think in 2023, we went up.
So 2022, and prior to 2022, your budget was only 24,483. I don't know where that number came from. That's just what it was. So we upped it to 30,000 during the mid-year budget amendment in 2022. Then in 2023, we increased it to 35. And then in 2024, we increased it to 40, and that's where it is today.
well, frankly, I'd rather not do that, and I'd rather do the $60,000 for backpacks that we took out of the budget for the school kids. So, I mean.
Do love children.
There is a balancing act here, and it has no reflection on us, but, I mean, there were certain things that you put in this budget that got cut, and I know that we serviced, we had a shortage last year of backpacks for kids. So how do you balance one with the other? So this is going to be obviously a topic of discussion, but why don't you, I have no idea what anybody else spends, and I don't know what their categories are. Can you supply us with that? So you said the last 5 years. Can you supply each of us with the, what we all spend?
I can send the report to all of you, yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
No problem.
And with that, we'll go for our second round of questions. Vice Mayor Baxter.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was trying to keep tally as we went through our first round of different questions. And a lot of no comments, but I think for the majority, I do want to kind of reply to comments regarding our budgets. I would like to remind people that we do go to Tallahassee, and I went several times fighting for money to bring back to this county. So what seems like might be an amount, I actually have worked with our legislature to bring millions back here, and that requires dollars of travel to go out of town to do that. So I would say it's actually a net gain in the long run of dollars that we are able to spend to travel, to go up there and meet with our legislators and bring dollars back to this county. So I would leave that one there. Also, we also have on here, in addition to that, it looked like most of us, with the exception of two, seemed to be okay with number one. There was number two, mid-county planning. It looked like we all agreed except for one on those dollars. And I don't think the mayor, did you comment on mid-county?
Mid-county's fine.
Mid-county spending. So that was that. Number four, I think most people averted, but I'm going to be very strong on this. I think public safety should be and is not only one of our strategic priorities, number one, but one of the most important things. I would like you to find the dollars for the sheriff, and I would do not want to cut infrastructure or capital projects from that. So I'd like you to bring back to us where we can find those dollars for the sheriff the next go
An
round.
additional 20 million?
Listen, he had told us last year he had vehicles going unrepaired, and then we had three. I don't really want to get into this, but we had 3 deputies die, and one of the things that I had heard is because they were on the side of the road trying to fix their motorcycle that wasn't operating. That's unacceptable. So if
An argument from me. However, we do have to have some agreement where we're going to phase these, because we cannot replace all these vehicles at once.
Work with the sheriff.
I have been doing that, and I will continue.
Number 5, we had, I think everyone was in agreement except again for one with number 5, which is the FAA, CBAs. Also, how to allocate, I think any of these additional property tax revenues can go towards these that we're trying to find money for. That just makes the most sense. And it looked like we all, unless somebody had none of us really supported that. I heard Prospera. I don't think any of us were familiar with what that is, but we all supported the Lord's Place except for the different amounts. I think no one really clarified except for the mayor on the 250. I am good with the 250.
They did respond to our NOFA. So I'm going to wait to see how that falls out, because if they get additional dollars through the NOFA that would cover this, then we wouldn't need to take it out of this pot of money. If it's not for the purpose, the outreach team, then that is something that we'll leave on the table and bring back to you when we get the additional revenue.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think you started off, Mayor, with I think it was you, or maybe, anyways, the conversation started off earlier with regard to what would it look like to cut the millage rate. After we've gone through this exercise, and it looks like in totality, all of the commissioners agree that there are things that we would like to see funded that are either on this list of directives, or there are things that are currently in the budget that we don't want to see cut. I would argue that the conversation, in my opinion, to start the conversation off by cutting the millage rate seems to be a non-starter. My mom, God bless her soul, used to say you can't squeeze water from a rock. And one thing about math is, people have opinions, you have opinion, I have opinion, but numbers don't lie. Now, of course, some of these are projections, and we'll find out some detailed and real numbers. I believe some dates are June 1st, June 14th, July 1st. But with the projections that seem to be carefully thought out and well-intentioned, and maybe you all can clarify for me, but it doesn't seem like, especially with us seeing a $2.7 million net supplemental reduction, then a $21.1 million decrease in some of these general fund revenue projections, that we would start the conversation with a reduction. I know that's what started off, but I want to be clear that in my opinion, the things that we're asking for as a board would indicate that a reduction is probably not in our best interest of the millage rate. Keeping it constant, even moving forward to the year 2027, we have the possibility, and it's highly likely, a high probability of seeing a budget downfall. I spent a few years in the legislature. And what I do know is when I entered the legislature in 2012, for the first time, we got an opportunity to see a budget that was not decreased. We weren't cutting things. We saw that for 12 years. This year the legislature has some challenges that they're currently working out, and they're working those challenges out daily, and we're hopeful that they'll land the plane. However, it's also understood that future projections could see some revenue shortfalls in the state. We've already talked about the profit sharing or the state sharing with the county, where we're seeing decreases. So those are things that we really must consider as we move forward. We've got a wonderful wish list, but we've got some challenges as well. Commissioner Sachs spoke about the parks and parking at the parks as they come online, or not parking. I spoke about parking. I apologize. As new parks come online, existing parks see an increase. But you've also got the challenge of the ball fields, what that looks like, and that's currently in the budget. So we've got some things that we really need to consider. I finished by reminding us that no matter how you squeeze it, you cannot squeeze water from a rock.
Thank you. Excuse me. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Powell, for that, because I think it's important for us to kind of understand and read the temperature of what is happening, because I don't believe we're going to get the answer from Tallahassee soon. That's in the works. It could be all the way through to the end of June before we know what certain pots of money look like for us. And whichever discussion wins in this, if it's sales tax reduction, part of what we get comes from sales taxes. And that number's going down just because of the shift in population percentages. So that number's going down. And if they do a reduction in sales tax, again, that's a further reduction we're going to have to look at. And if it's property tax that takes the hit, that's probably a bigger conversation that we are going to have. So whichever way this goes, we are having to tighten our belts a little. And I think it is prudent for us to plan to do that. And if somehow this all changes, and then, in a year or two, we're looking at, okay, those discussions generated some amazing new windfalls and everybody's good again, then great. But right now, this is a sobering reality that we should take seriously. I stand by my nose on everything as of where we sit right now. Depending on what happens in the next few weeks and into the month of June, I mean, some of that could change. But I don't think that we should be spending any extra on anything. And in fact, thank you for bringing up the ballparks conversation, because I did receive some emails on that. And I think we received emails or correspondence showing what the city's parks are charging. And we're still underneath any municipal parks. So I am okay with what was put forward. I mean, we have to turn the lights on. We have to maintain grass. There's fertilization. We want to keep good parks for them to play on, and we are paying for it right now. So I think we're going to have 1,000 little cuts across the way, and every department's going to have to do their share. And hopefully the sheriff can understand right now. Of course, I care about public safety, but again, we have to pay for things, and we can't print money. We don't do that. So I stand by what I said with that. I know that we're not finalizing anything today, but as far as the direction that I would stand by is, keep it tight with what you've done. If we have a pleasant surprise with more numbers, then maybe some of this could come back into discussion. Or if Tallahassee changes their mind and it's not quite as intense as what's being promoted right now, then we can see. But for right now, I appreciate what you've done in giving us these answers and also helping us understand between the sales tax and the property tax what we're looking at moving forward. And for any departments who have come with new revenue sources like Parks and Recreation, we may need more of that, because you're talking about user fees. And when it comes to, parks for kids to go play on a playground versus organized sports, I mean, it is a different conversation. And there are city parks that are charging considerably more than we are. So we're still going to be the most affordable option in the county. And I do appreciate that. So thank you.
I think I was the one, the first day I was here, said, I want to grow our park system for our kids. So Jennifer did bring up a good point about about nonprofits that are 100% not paid, volunteered. I think if there's a way we can balance that, I would look for that. We are so below everybody else but we still need to pay to maintain our parks. Obviously, no one wants to put the burden on children, but if it's an elite travel team and, everybody's getting paid to do this, the fees that, in the emails that we're getting, I would actually ask Jennifer to give us a better idea. I mean, when we get the letters and it says $100,000 a nonprofit, we didn't bill that many hours. So it's a little different. This is something that's going to be a discussion in the future, but just if you
Mayor,
want to.
if it's the board's will, before the next budget meeting, I can certainly go back and separate out the sport providers that really are an extension of our department because they're nonprofits that are all volunteers, all the kids play. We can separate those out from the nonprofits that, although they're technically a nonprofit, their coach may be making six figures in coaching on a county field free of charge. Those are very different animals. So if the board would like to see that scenario, we could certainly provide that to administration for you.
Okay, and I know this is just me, but I think the $60,000 for backpacks is something we should try to find some money for, because I don't want to see these kids, some kids get it and some kids don't. We were, I think, 1,400 short last year. It was a large number, and I don't want to see that. So, and that's just a tiny little thing in the budget. And I had more questions about some of the things that are included and some of the things that aren't. But the hotel structure, obviously, it's hard for us to say anything about the Ramada when we don't know what's happening with the La Quinta. But I see no more lights on. So do you all have any questions for us?
Just to go back and make sure we've captured what you're looking for. I would like to, as much as possible, be able to respond to you before I walk out the door on some of the things that you've asked for. And I just want to make sure that we're accounting for them. For the ARPA replacement reserves, I think you allowed us to reallocate that 19 million to some of the shortfalls we had, leaving 6.35, right?
Yes.
To be reallocated. In addition to that, and Ramada may come back as a part of whatever we reallocate for the 6.35, but that's 6.35. And then the other, we're going to send you a list of by commission districts of the expenditures, budget and expenditures for the last 5 years. And at the June meeting, you'll tell us whatever it is that you want us to do, unless there's something different. So if you're telling me to go ahead and add the 10 grand today, then I need to hear that from you. If not, we'll submit this information and that'll be one thing on the list, that if you get enough revenues and you decide to increase it by the 10,000, you'll give staff that direction at that time.
Vice Mayor.
Well, I think
Just wanted
even
to
the
be
mayor
clear.
wanted to add the 60K for backpacks as well.
Yes,
And then,
ma'am.
yes, I think 5 out of us, only 2 said they didn't want the additional funds. So I think,
Okay, that's
thank you.
follow through. So that's a yes. We'll still send you that information. Mid-county million, that's a yes. If we have enough funding coming in, this will come back to you on the list. The county organizational review and assessment, putting that out till you get your new administrator on board, et cetera. And if you decide to do it during fiscal '26, it won't be that substantial that you can't go to reserves and take it out of your contingency reserves if you want to move forward in '26. And if not, it can be budgeted in 2027.
And just for the record, we took the 20 million contingency reserves and gave those to the sheriff, and we are replenishing that in this budget, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. That is correct.
We
And-
lent it to the sheriff. We didn't give it to
Well-
the sheriff. We're hoping that we will get reimbursed for that.
Okay, so I know that the sheriff would appreciate me differentiating between the sheriff's budget per se and the 45 million for POTUS security.
But the 20 million out of
The
our
20
reserves
million
went to
the
POTUS
sheriff-
security.
To POTUS for security. So we'll come back with that figure. PBSO cut to balance the 20 million. I'll continue to talk to the sheriff. We have talked. If you get additional revenue in and can move forward with allocating some additional dollars, that would be one recommendation, but we've got some other things that we've got to adjust. So I'll continue speaking with the sheriff on this. I have spoken with him. Our FAAs, CBAs, you're saying yes to the 3%. You're also talking about external funding requests, looking at considering the $250 additional dollars for the Lord's Place. But again, I'm going to request that they also go to the city, and we know what the city is contributing toward this as well. And if they end up with the NOFA that will cover this, then we don't need to bring this back to you for reconsideration. If they don't get the 250 for this specific purpose through the NOFA, then it'll be on your list. Prospera, I didn't hear a yes. Okay, so we'll leave that alone. I did hear if we get the additional funding, whether it comes out of the ARPA replacement reserves at 6.5, but for the museum that we're collaborating with the school district. Yes?
I don't, so Commissioner Powell brought that up. Commissioner Powell, you want to elaborate a little bit more on that? And Verdina, can you clarify?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Historic Roosevelt Museum is a museum that we've been working on for a few years in the county. I think $1 million was allocated to it last year. Previous to that, we had gotten some research and development dollars from the state. It's also a partnership with the school district of Palm Beach County in terms of the reconstruction of that particular project. It's located right across the street from what is Dunbar Village. I think it's 15th Street in Tamron in West Palm Beach, and it's currently under development. We have a working group that's continuing to work on that project, and there's funds for the development, but we're still working on, I say we, but there's still funds being worked on for the museum portion of it. If you'd like, I can get you more information at our next meeting to tell you what we're looking at.
So then this would be above the 1 million that we're already allotting.
That's already done. That's a done deal. That's previous.
Correct. So, but I'm saying this is so in essence, it's
An additional.
an
million.
additional.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't think the board has any objection to that.
Okay. Should we allocate that from ARPA?
Yeah.
The 6.35?
Is it allowable use?
Yes. Yes, it's an allowable use, if the board says so. Okay, so we'll take care of that. And then the backpacks.
Please.
I love my children, I do. 60 backpacks, right?
It was 60,000 in the
Oh,
budget.
60,000.
It was 60,000 in the budget
Okay, I thought
that was
I'd try.
requested, but you said no to. So, and I appreciate you how you went through this, but again,
If we find the funding somewhere else, then we'll fund it from that other source, as opposed to adding it to this list. If not, it'll be on the list.
Okay.
And this list will come back to you once we find out the delta we have between what we've estimated and the preliminary June 1st numbers that we get from the property appraiser. And then we always anticipate roughly about 3 to 4 million between June 1st and July 1st. So you'll have those dollars. I do, as your sitting administrator, recommend that we attempt to put some more funding into our reserves, because I have to tell you, people sitting in front of you, we are a little nervous. We're a little anxious on what's going to come down the pike. We've been having horrible weather throughout the country, and I'm just a little nervous on how fast FEMA as well as the state is going to respond. So we need to be in a position to respond to our residents.
Thank you. And we are going to have a challenge in the future if the legislature does say, no, you can't collect property taxes. You know, we are, in essence, defunding the police, defunding fire, defunding emergency rescue. So it would be up to us to find other ways to fund those operations, and I'm not sure how we would do that. So any pencil to paper is greatly appreciated. And I think you all did a great job today in giving us a preliminary budget. And I believe our board heard you and asked really good questions, and we'll look forward to the next go-round of this. So with that, we actually still have some items on our agenda. So I know I was asked to take like a 10-minute break, so if that's okay, why don't we be back at 4? We'll take a 10-minute break to We're going to go ahead and get started. This is item 5 on our agenda. And it says recognition, County Administrator, Ms. Virginia Baker. So first off, let me say thank you to staff who gave me a nice little run of show. I know, but we don't have many opportunities, and it's 38 years of service. That's a lot of years. And we want to thank you for that. 26 of those years you were in administration, you were growing with the departments that you were in. You started as a budget analyst. You had black hair and were thinner, as you always say. I had less gray hair before I started here too, and that was only 4.5 years ago. I'm just saying. But anyway, you've been our county administrator since 2015, and I know that there were a lot of people who did a little bit of love on this next video presentation, so roll that beautiful footage.
Virginia C. Baker walked through the door in 1987.
Can you turn the volume up a little?
Palm Beach County hasn't been the same since then.
Early on in my career, when I had long black hair,
Nearly 10 years at the top as Palm Beach County Administrator, and more than 25 years total in county administration. Always having a concern for the bottom line and a balanced budget. The work has continually been about the quality of life for Palm Beach County residents.
we want to make sure that we are providing services for our entire community.
So much covers a 38-year career in public service. All of the groundbreakings, all of the ribbon cuttings, building openings. Wow, we're here!
But to actually see dirt being moved, and all of a sudden we're here in this beautiful facility. Yes, this is my house. Your house is our house. This is Palm Beach County, better known as paradise.
That how important workforce affordable housing is in Palm Beach County, and especially how important because our housing cost is tremendous and it continues to escalate.
Beach tree nourishment, natural areas, the ecosystem, and the agriculture industry make PBC unique. Public safety and community engagement are essential for public trust.
We are balancing both a hurricane breathing down on us as well as COVID-19. It's a balancing act. It's a matter of risk that we must assess.
Leadership over dozens of departments, divisions, and offices with 7,000 employees requires extensive knowledge and relatability.
It's called Team PBC, and it gives me great joy that we're working across boundaries for the benefit of our entire community.
The job of all day, all night county administrator and public servant will now become a community involved servant.
I will continue to be in this community. I'm not going anywhere. I belong to a number of organizations. I will continue to work. This board will see me. Future boards will see me. I will continue to give because that's who I am.
So just one of the many gifts you're going to get is this lovely vase. I'm not going to say. Somebody grew those orchids in their yard, didn't you know? Just kidding. It wasn't my yard, that's for sure. And I would also like to invite up for a special presentation Mandy Hines from DeSoto County. And is Monica here also? Ladies, how are you? They were hiding, Verdine. You didn't even see them, did you?
We were here for your whole budget workshop.
Did you learn anything? That's all I want to know.
Absolutely.
We're not alone.
Ms. Verdenia, for those of you that may not know, Ms. Verdenia serves on the Florida Association of County Managers. And in fact, she was a founding board member in 2015, served as the president in 2021, 22, right after COVID and one of the most challenging times. She has been somebody that I've learned so much from. She's, like she said, she gives. She is a giver. She is fun. I really enjoy getting to know you over these last several years, and thank you and people like Monica and the whole network that we have across the state. FACM has 58 members currently, and so just a huge network of talent and ability. And I wanted to just share one more thing before I turn it over to Monica and we present you with a honor for your retirement on behalf of the Florida Association of Counties in general and FACM as well. But in 2022, DeSoto County was devastated by Hurricane Ian, and it was nothing better than me, and I thank the Palm Beach County Commission and Ms. Virginia Baker when she flew in, and I got to get a hug from somebody when you needed it most because you're working 18 and 20-hour days and your community is devastated. We also had the pleasure of having a long team, an ICS team from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, and they were phenomenal, and I will never forget how kind Palm Beach County was to us in our time of need. So, Virginia, congratulations on your retirement. We know you'll never go away, and we're always going to suck you back into FAC.
Thank you. Thanks, Mandy. And I don't know that I've ever sat on this side of a dais, the podium. This is nice. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Monica Supplemental, the County Administrator of Broward County. I finished my commission meeting, literally ran down the hall to catch a bright line so I could be here because I thought I'd be late, but I'm glad I got to listen to some of your budget workshop. Enlightening. We are not alone. All the counties across the state are, facing some similar challenges. And we're just in the prepare mode. So it's interesting to hear the insight from each of you as my neighboring county commissioners. What you have here and have had here in Palm Beach County is a gem for many years. I've learned a lot from Virginia over the years. I've been voluntold by Virginia many times. I am the incoming next president of the Florida Association of County Managers because I missed 2 meetings in a row. Once I missed a meeting and they voted me onto the board. The next time I missed, I was on the executive board. And so I learned not to miss meetings. But besides learning that, the fiscal responsibility that is charged to us as county administrators is an awesome responsibility, and you got one of the best. I know she's served with distinction for many, many years, and we all have learned humility and hard work. We all share those same principles and work ethic. And so on behalf of FACM, all of the county administrators in the state of Florida, we want to commend you for your many years of honorable hard work, 24 hours a day. We know it well. It never stops. And thank you for your service. And we know you're going to still be around in some capacity and giving back to the community that you love so much. It's evident, the love and passion that you bring to the job every day. It's the same one I bring to mine every single day, and Mandy as well. And so we tried to get most of the board. Everyone seems to have meetings on Tuesdays, so it's really hard to get here. But on behalf of all of FACM, thank you, and thank you to the commission for so graciously giving us this time to share briefly a thank you to Virginia. And we have a small gift here for her. Do you want to read about the artist and all of this fun stuff?
The local artist is Katie Herman, who is inspired here by Lily Pulitzer, and takes all of her inspiration from the landmarks in Palm Beach County. So this painting was provided for you by all of your friends here at FAC.
Oh, you got to open it.
Open it up. Yeah.
You got us all curious
Not
now.
open it, you're opening it.
Oh, how beautiful. Yeah, so take a picture.
Oh. Oh.
take a quick picture? Sure. For FACM, so we could prove we're here. Oh, one more? Sorry.
That's them.
Of course, of course. All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you for coming up.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mandy, thank you for coming over. Glad you made the trek. Virginia, we know you're loved around the county and around the state. We actually have only a couple more cards. So, Mayor Mashat and Council members Judith Thomas and John Linden have a presentation to make. Come on up.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the rest of the commissioners for this opportunity, this time, to present to Ms. Baker.
It's all under $100, we know.
Absolutely. As she closes one chapter and gets ready to start a new chapter of doing what she wants, when she wants, and whoever she wants to do it with. We respect you highly and dearly in the town of Lake Park. That's residents, staff, and us as electeds. You have been vital to our community, most recently with our expansion with our CRA. Our former town manager who worked with you spoke highly of you, and he has thanked you in praises for giving us the opportunity to sit down, break bread, and do business, do good business, and come up with a great solution. And we appreciate you for that, and we respect you. We hope that every minute you have after the fact, when you close this chapter, is well enjoyed because it's well deserved. So I want to give the commissioners an opportunity to say a few words.
Okay, well, let me present you with orchids. And hello, retirement. My name is Judith Thomas, and I'd like to say, Virginia, that the first time I met you actually was in 2000. I don't even want to get emotional about this, because you were the first person of color in the position that you held. I, at that time, too, was the first person in color to the community that I was hosting. And I wasn't aware of that because the first time I saw myself in this county chambers was regarding discussing a project that was going to affect us. And me being so young and ambitious, something was being said on the dais, and it didn't actually go that way. And I was so ready, like to say, no. And you held my hand and you says, no, you have a future here and you don't want to destroy it right now. The one thing that you want to do is just sit and just listen. Since that time, my life has changed considerably, but I was so proud, and I am still so proud to know that you have been a face for women like myself to look up to, and even though you don't know, a huge mentor for me, because it's not what you say, it is how you carry yourself. And it speaks volumes. And I have seen you in the community here and there, and I just smile because I don't necessarily know if you remember me, but every time I see you, you hug me and you give me a hand. And as I was telling my colleagues today, the first time I came here was in June of 2000, and at that time you were the deputy administrator. And we sat in office and sat here, and I sat in such awe. And I just want you to know, even though you are retiring from where you are, I stand in awe of you still. So congratulations on your retirement, and I wish and hope the best for you.
Thank you.
Well, it's John Linden. In my 6 years as a commissioner in Lake Park, we've interacted a lot on and off, and it's been a pleasure. You're a wealth of knowledge and information. So what we wanted to do was present you with a proclamation from the town. I'm not going to read the whole thing, okay? But please share it. It's great. We appreciate you, and we want to offer anytime you're in the area on the first or the third Wednesday of the month, please stop up. Would love to have you. All right? Thank you.
Yes, well deserved. Come on.
Oh. Richard, you got it?
You got it.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we have one last card, and that might be Mr. Fred Angelo. I'm not going to put the timer on, but keep it under 3 minutes. Just saying.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just coming up for a kiss. That's it. Our Miss Virginia, 38 years of great leadership. One of the things I haven't heard today, but I want to recognize after I spent my time working at Fire Rescue for so long, but Virginia worked her way up through the ranks. And that's something to be said in today's world. So I want to thank you for your leadership, your time, and your support. For, I don't know, 15 years maybe, I helped lead the union, fire union, and partly the county through a lot of hurricanes, maybe a tornado, but not the tornadoes. I was in the background a little bit on COVID, but Virginia was front and center on COVID. She's been here for budget windfalls and maybe today a budget shortfall. But she's led the way with dignity, character, even when hers has been attacked. And I want to thank her for her service. Thank you.
And actually, there's one more person that's going to come up and talk. Jazz, are you in the audience? Ms. Jasmine Baker.
Staff has been hiding me since 12. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. County Administrator, I'm not going to look at you. County Administrator Virginia Baker. Today I have the honor of standing before you as a native of Palm Beach County, but as the witness of a legacy in motion. Ms. Baker, the first female and the first African American to serve as County Administrator for Palm Beach County, is retiring. And while I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, what I know for sure is that she didn't just hold a title, she changed the game. Let's be real. She faced controversy, people questioned her, people doubted her, whispered things like she wasn't qualified for the role. But here's what they didn't know. She had faith, the strength, the degrees, the certifications, and the brilliance. She worked her way up, and she handled every challenge, every headline, every storm with class. They might have tried to discredit her, but in my words, try somebody else. She didn't just show up. She didn't just show up, she showed out. She held that seat with excellence, with courage, and with unwavering commitment to serve. And while she is running this county, she made sacrifices, including time with her family, I'll be honest, as a kid, I didn't always understand it. I didn't get why we couldn't just have dinner without a phone call, or why she had to miss something for a meeting, or even why Mr. Ernest Brown made the entire superior-rated Suncoast High School band be quiet all the way to Belgrade because she was negotiating scripts. Or why she was under a tree at my swim meets taking phone calls. That's just a few. But as I got older, I realized she wasn't just building a career. She was building a path for others. She was creating a legacy, all while serving the people of Palm Beach County. She was making space where there was none. She was teaching me with her actions what it means to lead, to fight, to care deeply, and serve boldly. I grew up in these county buildings, literally. I've done homework in hallways. I slept under her desk while meetings occurred, and no one knew I was there except her secretaries. I've done homework with Mr. Robert Wiseman while she was in her meetings. I've sat through budget meetings and watched my mother carry the weight of a whole county on her shoulders with grace. Team BBC, that includes you as well. And through it all, she never lost her compassion, her love for people, or her love for her job. Mom, I may never be able to follow your legacy, but I will always carry your wisdom, respect, compassion, and love for others. You showed me how to lead with strength and softness. I'm still working on that. How to juggle the impossible, and how to stay rooted in who you are, even when the world tries to shake you. I can speak for 1 million people. Thank you for everything, for what you did for this community, for this county, for your family, friends, sorority sisters, Team PBC, and more. But most importantly, for Dad, Shani, Lauren, and I. Enjoy this new season. You've earned it 100 times over. We are so proud of you, and remember, your biggest support may not always be here, but your mother, my grandmother, has your back, and she is so proud of the accomplishments and the woman that you have become and are. I love you, we love you, thank you, and happy retirement.
Aw. And we're not done. So you can bring your florist shop up here. So a couple more things, Virginia. Do you want to put those in a vase? Where's the vase that you just took them out of? Yeah, there we go.
Sure.
She's going to hide behind the flowers so you can't see her crying. So there's a couple other things that we'd like to say and do for Miss Baker. And for those of you that don't know, that are watching, and this is actually Miss Baker's last meeting here. That's why we're doing this today. She's not leaving us till the end of the month, but this is our one organized chance to say thank you for all of the 38 years that you have been here. So I have a couple things. And the first one is on behalf of all of my colleagues, I would like to present to you the portion of Crestwood Boulevard in Royal Palm Beach from Cocoa Plum Lane north to Okeechobee Boulevard be named Virginia C. Baker Boulevard.
picture right here.
You need to move the chairs.
Okay, here we go. Great, good, all right, we got it.
I think this one's me. Okay. Also, just wrapping up your 38 years, last 10 as county administrator, your colleagues, who many of them are in the room today, who have been with you for a lot of these years, would like to present to you the naming of the Vista Center to the Virginia C. Baker Vista Center. And with that, I actually need a motion to bring this back as an agenda item for the renaming of the complex. I have, did you get all that? Commissioner Flores was the motion maker, and Commissioner Sachs was the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0. And while we still have the opportunity, I would like the board to say a few words to you individually. So Commissioner Flores, why don't you go ahead?
Well, first of all, I have to do a shameless plug. On May 28th, we're having our town hall, and at that point, we are going to be honoring you. District 3 is, so I hope that you and your family are able to attend. But on behalf of District 3, on behalf of my community, and I feel like I speak for every resident in Palm Beach County, we couldn't have had a better leader for the last, for your tenure as county administrator. We face some, over the last 10 years, we have faced some pretty glooming days in Palm Beach County. We went through COVID, we went through a brief recession, and you have been able to handle yourself with total professionalism at all times. I feel like you listen to everyone in the county, and you have been able to manage things. So one of the speakers earlier said that you were a role model to her, even from afar. And I can genuinely say that I have learned so much from you from afar, that you don't have the slightest idea of how many people you have touched in this community just by your leadership, by your compassion, and by genuinely putting our residents first. So, Virginia, thank you so much for your leadership. I hope that you stay connected to us and the community, because we don't want to see you go too far. Thank you once again for everything, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs.
When I first got here, Ms. Baker, I got to sit next to you. And like the young lady who came up to speak a few minutes ago, I was ready to talk about everything. I was just spitfire. And you'd put your hand on my arm and say, shh, don't say anything. Just keep calm. And I wish I was sitting next to you for the rest of my term here, because you are wise. There's a lot of smart people in the world. I think most of them reside in my district. If you ask them, they'll tell you. But there are very few wise people who come into our lives. And you have that wisdom that is so rare and so necessary today. So I thank God that you came into my life. Didn't know you before I started here. But I have a feeling that I'll never stop knowing you, because you will be a part of this county for many, many years to come. Thank you. God bless you. And still, I don't accept your resignation. You know, I mean, your retirement, I don't. But I've got your cell number. Thank you for serving us, for serving the people, and most importantly, for the wisdom that you have imparted to so many of us here. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. Had to write some of this down. Administrator Baker, Ms. Verdinia. So I came into this position 2.5 years ago, and we were strangers. We are parting as friends. And I'm not going to cry. We did not always agree, but we always spoke frankly. And you know that I'm not a very good polished politician, so I appreciate our conversations, woman to woman, and at times helping me navigate this beautiful county that we share. You patiently answered all of my questions, and my agenda review sometimes went very long. You always made sure that staff was available to me and took all of my calls. I'm still learning in this position, but you have helped me become the commissioner that I am so far, and I will continue to improve, I hope. And today you handed us a balanced budget as promised, and you leave us with a AAA bond rating that I know you're very proud of, and we will do our very best to keep it. Thank you for all of your years of service to this county that we all love, and leading Team Palm Beach County. I hope you have an amazing first few months of retirement and traveling. However, when you're done, we will meet for lunch, and you will let me know when you're ready for your own little Fritz. And we're gonna help you get your own puppy, or maybe a cat, but I recommend the dog. Jazz is on my side. We're gonna get you a little Fritz for your own when you're ready. But enjoy this, you've earned it. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. After Jasmine, I don't know if there's much else I can say. She laid it out. She laid it out. Let me just say that, you know, I talked about Reverend Jones earlier when I indicated that the third principle is to be selfless. So there's 4 steps to success. Number 1, you have to make a decision. Number 2, you have to have a plan. The plan needs to be in writing. Number 3, you have to find somebody who's selfless as opposed to selfish to help you get there. And number 4, you have to go. And if you've had the opportunity to interface with Administrator Virginia Baker, she will push you to do all of the steps. She will help you decide that you have to make a decision. She'll push you to develop a plan in writing. She'll push you to do professional development. And you don't have to be an elected official. You don't have to be an administrator. If she comes in contact with you, there are people in the legislature where I spent a few years who she had come in contact with, and she had pushed them, not from Palm Beach County, to pursue additional professional development. In this county, your hands and fingerprints are on much more than we talk about. You've had your hand in the development of a lot of projects, a lot of buildings, a lot of people. The best investment, the greatest investment that one can make is the investment in people. And you've done that. What you have meant to me and others in this community is immeasurable. As you can imagine, watching Jasmine, I have a daughter, and sometimes she is dragged to places. I won't say dragged, she is a willing participant many times, but she ends up in places that sometimes a young child would prefer to be at the park playing. Shots out to Parks and Rec. We've found some new parks that we'll be taking her to. But it's all about the building of this next generation and building of people. And you've done that. The idea of a Virginia Baker is something that sometimes growing up, especially as a young woman or young black female, people probably could not imagine. You ran the county, the whole county, 1.5 million people, 39 municipalities, different boards that you've had to deal with. You did it. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied, maybe it couldn't, but he wouldn't be one to say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a hint of a grin on his face. If he were, he hit it, she hit it. Started to sing as she tackled the thing that could not be done, and she did it. Your reach has been immeasurable, and it will continue. As we know, you are a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We know that you are a graduate of FSU, but your money went to FAMU. Let's go. And you're in the community. You're a member of Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church. When we were in the midst of COVID, you were one of the first people I called to try to get vaccines into the community when people had indicated, or the governor had indicated, that vaccines would not come inside of the community. You had to go to Publix or CVS. We were able to work together to get vaccines inside of the community. You know, you talked me off of a ledge. Some people don't know you saved some lives in more ways than just making sure people had the vaccine. I can't say goodbye because I'll still see you, but your presence will be missed in this building. It's the equivalent of having a door open that you feel like you can't close. Because since I've been here in this short amount of time, but since I've been involved in the political world, you have been here. You've been available. We've talked when I was on the Senate floor, when I was on the House floor. We've had good conversations, and you have been a guide. But as Councilwoman, Councilmember, Commissioner, not Councilwoman, Commissioner Judith Thomas said earlier, who is also, by the way, Judith is an AICP certified planner. You have been a mentor to many, not just by your thoughts, but your words and your deeds. And watching you, even the short time that you've been up here, I've watched you so I can try to help control my facial expressions. My sister used to tell me that I wear these expressions on my face. So I want to commend you for the work that you've done and the work that you'll continue to do, but I bid you this, although you're leaving the county today, well, not today, at the end of the month, the best is yet to come. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. Wow. So I thought I'd be leaving here before you. So you and I sat next to each other for 2 years. And as other people have said, we had some very interesting conversations during those meetings. But you were always willing to share your wisdom with me. The way, and what people may not know, the way Virginia measures success is not in herself, but by those around her and their success. You know, people, myself at times, we disagreed, and other people, but the thing that we all know is true is Virginia, always you had utmost integrity and honesty in wanting to do the best for your community. Nobody can ask for anything more from anybody than what you were willing to do for us. We all owe you a big debt of gratitude. And, you know, as you leave us, as you said, you're not leaving our community, because I'll be there banging on your door. And I got plenty of things for you to be doing. So, you know, you make your honey-do list for Joe, and I have one for you. But seriously, it's a transition, but you're leaving us in a really good place. And for that, I am personally grateful. I know our community is grateful. The outpouring that we've seen by the community for you is a testament to who you are and how you've conducted yourself. You know, you've always treated everybody with respect and kindness, even the people who may have been a little harsh in the way they treated you. And I don't know where you get that from, but it's a tremendous amount of patience and strength, but you have done it. And so I will miss you. And I better shut up before I can't say anymore. I will miss looking down the dais at you. But I know you're going to have an opportunity to spend time with your family that I know means so much. And you've earned it and you deserve it. So, best wishes.
So maybe I'll just wrap all this up and say nothing. Nah, not happening. Virginia, thank you for being a public servant without politics. Because the job that you do is not a political position. And a politician shouldn't sit there. Because you keep these 7 county commissioners out of trouble, along with the attorney. You balance 7 personalities who are, let's face it, if we were not forceful personalities, we probably wouldn't be up here. You do it with grace. You do it with patience. I know I have a swear jar in my office, and there have been times you wanted to throw money in there. I throw enough in there for all of us. But if anyone were to walk into Virginia's office, what you would see is an office filled with recognitions for someone who has been a leader. And many of those she didn't know she was getting. So that is the kind of leader that we've had here for 10 years and coming up through the ranks for her 38. She's continued to educate herself. She's continued to get certifications. She's continued to advocate for everyone in this room, for small business, for minority business, for women, for men, for people of all creeds and colors. You leave a legacy, and you know that because people came today from other parts of the county, other parts of the state to say thank you. Thank you for your leadership at the state level. Thank you for your leadership with your sorority at a national level. You have national awards, local awards, county awards, state awards. You've been a trailblazer. And it hasn't been easy, because trust me, dealing with us, not that easy. But I do want to say, on behalf of this board and on behalf of the staff that's out here right now, who you call friends, and who you call family, and who you call Team PBC, we say thank you. Guess what? I'm sorry? Denise, you want to say anything?
I really thought I was going to get away with it. Don't know that I'm going to be able to say very much. But thank you. I think that your legacy is something that is not seen, but something that is felt. Something that has been witnessed by people who aspire to do better. I think that you are a great leader, and I think that you are so intelligent. You are so sharp. And I have to say that out loud because I've seen other great people leave and no one acknowledged that part of them. It's not your background that makes you special. It's your work, it's your character, it's your tenacity, it's your intelligence, it's your ability to analyze, and your risk-taking ability. We see so many people who have so much potential, but they're not willing to take the risks to make the decision. But a great leader is not risk adverse. They are willing to take the risk. They are willing to step out. They are willing to buck the trend. They are willing to stand for what they believe is right. And you and I don't always agree, but you have always been honest. You have always been hardworking. You've always been somebody that I could rely on and look up to. And if Jazz is not applied to law school, she should. As that girl could be a lawyer. And that is part of your legacy. But I just want to thank you. You have done so much for me, even just being there, and I'm going to miss you a lot.
You got any words left, young lady?
Just a thank you to each of you. I've had a relationship with each of you. They've been individual. I've gotten to know a lot of you. Before term limits, the board that sat here, I grew up with them. They knew me, I knew them, they knew our family. But I've had that pleasure with you as well. From your daughter and your grandkids, I met your daughter. I love Fritz. Your husband, Michael, he's a sweetheart. Commissioner, your mom, your dad, you, Rebecca, Commissioner, your family, your daughter especially, who thinks Jazz is her equal. I can't say enough. Denise, thank you. We don't always agree. I'd never surround myself around anybody that agrees with me 24/7 because something's wrong with that. We're all individuals. We have different lenses that we see things through. And the more diverse those people surrounding you, the better it makes you. I could not do what I do without my 35+ department, agency heads, my assistants, my deputy, my real bosses, my executive assistants, because they're the ones that tell me what to do, where to go, not to touch the calendar because they're in charge of it.
And Teresa, you were my champion for a very long time as well. So I do thank all of you for everything, because no man is an island, and I tell you that all the time. And I actually had a staff person repeat to me a poem that I always share with staff, and that is, we bend, but we do not break. And we bend because everything's coming at you, and you've got to be nimble enough to adjust. But we don't break. And we don't break because we still hold on to our integrity. And we do our job, and that's what we're charged with. That's what Team PBC does for this board and the public. We do our homework, we research, we analyze, we challenge each other. And it's okay to not agree. But once you're heard and a decision is made, we get in a row and we move this county along. This has been, the last couple of months have been interesting because I've had people come up to me and just start talking and telling me things that I didn't remember, but they were grateful for it. I'd like to thank the public for the cards that they've been sending to my home and the office and the email, and I feel strongly about this county. I think that this is the best county. Yeah, Monica, we'll share with you. But I've had the experience of working with my administrators to the south, especially during COVID. It was Bertha, Monica from Broward, Monroe County, Miami-Dade. And Miami-Dade has a strong mayor. And at the time, he was on the calls with us on Sundays, Sunday evenings, Saturdays. I want this board to know that your staff works 24/7. They do not stop when they leave this building. 6 a.m., if I text somebody, they're texting back. I used to try to, because I couldn't sleep, text like 3 in the morning. But they would still text back 3 in the morning. It's like, what are you doing up? Go back to sleep. But I want you to know I am leaving you well-staffed. I am leaving you with staff that is committed and dedicated to this community. They're dedicated to this board, and they work hard for you. And I am hoping that you select someone who can appreciate the hardworking staff that we have, Team PBC. They are here for the public. They are here for you. And if they're not, I will come back to see them or call them, and they better answer. I cannot say enough about Public Affairs, who is there no matter what. I don't want to start calling names because I'm going to leave somebody out, but you know who you are, and you're more than just my coworkers, the people that help me move this train along. You're my friends, and I want you to know that, and I will always be here for you.
Thank you all for being here. Does anybody in the board have anything they want to say, or can we just adjourn? Oh, wait, Commissioner Weiss has, we actually are on the portion of our agenda which says BCC comments. So if any board member has a comment or something that they'd like to share, please. Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. I need approval. I'd like to move for approval of an off-site proclamation for Saturday, June 21st, declaring that June 21st, 2025 will be the class of 1975 day in Palm Beach County.
I have a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0.
And I'd also like to reappoint Hank Powski to the Fair Housing and Equal Employment Board.
And that needs no motion. Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Sachs.
My first comment is thank you, Mayor. You did a beautiful job in this meeting.
Thank you.
I'd like to declare May 20th, 2025 as Hispanic Heritage Chamber of Commerce Day with the approval of the board.
I have a motion and a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0.
And finally, I have a district appointment of Brett Duker for the Fair Housing Equal Employment Board. Thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Today, I would like to request approval for an off-site proclamation declaring May the 22nd through the 26th, 2025 as African American Golfers Hall of Fame and African American Collegiate and Youth Golfers Hall of Fame Week.
I have a motion and a second from Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. In addition, I'd like to appoint Ms. Lynn Lorraine Hubbard to the Library Advisory Board and appoint Ms. Denise Williams to the Palm Beach County Planning Commission.
Thank you. Those don't need a motion, so done.
Thank you.
Administrator Baker, your light is on.
I did forget to thank the comptroller staff, the minutes people, because they are invaluable. Thank you very much. I did not mean to overlook you because you guys take our minutes and I do need them sometimes. So thank you very much, and please pass that on to the other minutes clerk. And then also the finance section of the comptroller's office, because my staff works very closely with them as well. So again, thank you.
Thank you. With that, thank you to everyone that's here today. We're adjourned.
One
What?
more thing.
Sorry.
I-
Hold on, we're not adjourned.
Almost. Sorry, I did want to thank the task force that we put together, that it worked on the county administrators task force, for the people who had come together and worked so hard to get to the point where we're at now. And, make sure that we are able to thank them and close them out for the work that they've done. And I just want to make sure that we make a point of that. With that, I'm done, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and I had written that down, so I'm glad you brought that up. So now we are adjourned.